ついたその腕に何を抱いてる打たれた頬を拭うように笑い
Episodes 35 and 36, Ryu finally gets his revenge on Isaka. Why is because Isaka was after a zoo worker whose father he had previously murdered, and he was waiting to fire up a new memory so that he could be unstoppable. Ryu, dead set on beating Isaka once and for all, goes to see Shroud to obtain the key for his final form, Trial Form. And much like his base form, I really seem to like Trial Form. If only because Axel started out so bulky, but now he's sleeker to move faster. To which, by the way, this form has all the speed. Like when he does his finisher, hot damn, all those kicks, all those punches, and timing them all just to say how fast he was going. Whew. How Ryu is even able to go that fast is because before actually to actually be able to run that fast, he has to go through like a motocross course set up by Shroud to pass it the whole course in under 10 seconds. And then super speed. And so boom, Isaka's dead. Yeah, he dies. Ryu didn't just knock the dog shit out of him on fast forward. The memory also backfired from all the memory connectors on him, and it made him just disappear. But before he dies, his last words were that Shroud has sealed their fates, which is of course stored in the back of everyone's heads. Episodes 37 and 38, Wakana is set to inherit Museum, but she really doesn't want to and would rather run away with Philip. Philip and Wakana finally meet face to face, and she gives him an ultimatum to leave Futo with her, but of course, doing so would leave Shotaro and the city screwed. And while that's all happening, Ryubei has sent an assassin to go after a scientist that has escaped his facilities, and he goes to Shotaro and Philip to locate his family and reconnect with them. 1. This scientist should be dead, since Shotaro did do his research on him. 2. The man faked his death and ditched being with his family to dedicate himself to his research with Ryubei until he realized that Ryubei was a maniac that wasn't going to let him go. And 3. The assassin is the Grasshopper Dopant, who is played by KamenRider Marika's actress. Wow. The Grasshopper Dopant attacks our target and mentions that he erased Philip's memories about his family. And now we can talk more about Philip here that I couldn't earlier. Philip is actually Raito Sonozaki, the son of Ryubei Sonozaki, thus making him and Wakana brother and sister. It sure puts into perspective why Philip and Wakana got along, but out of context, it's kind of disgusting, as if a little brother had a crush on his older sister. Yeah. The scientist dies, and Philip decides to leave Futo to run away with Wakana, but was unfortunately too late by a second, as when Philip and Shotaro had to be W, Wakana made it on time, but Ryubei, as the Terror Dopant, abducted and brainwashed Wakana to come back home and to inherit Museum. So, in episodes 39 and 40, they debut Claydol's new extreme form. And during that time, I think in the last episode or not, I don't particularly remember, Psycho's been on the run, being hunted by their cat, and is eventually saved by, spoiler alert, the final boss of the series, Kazun Jun, an emissary of Foundation X, who has come to Museum to collect their data and sales records on Gaia memories from Museum. Along with that, Psycho lost the Taboo memory and sneaks through Wakana to steal instead the Nazca memory for her use, so she can match up to W and still taunt her little sister. Speaking of which, about Wakana, how she got the extreme memory is that she kidnapped and used the dopant of that two-parter, the Gene dopant, who has the ability to create sort of illusions and uses his creative abilities to, with a raw piece of Gaia memory power, he uses that and his abilities to insert it into the clay doll memory. So all in all, good day for Ryubei. He got his youngest daughter to take over the family business and manipulated her into doing so by making her jealous of his oldest child, who he wanted assassinated. But not really. What? Episodes 43 and 44. We're just going through steps of bad parenting here as we go along now. Anywho, episodes 43 and 44. I personally love this arc because it's all about Ryu and Shroud. Shroud is the one who gave Isaka the weather memory, but what she thought was that Isaka would use it to go after Ryubei. But what she didn't think about was Isaka turning into the well-known serial killer that he was. After that time when Ryu's family was killed, she found Ryu and offered him Axel to not only avenge his family, but to make up for her mistake. And that's not particularly all. Shroud is also Philip's mother and Ryubei's ex-wife. A long time ago, that'll be explained in a little bit, Ryubei made the discovery of Gaia memories. How the scene was shown and half explained is that Philip was a child, Ryubei turned bad, and Shroud wanted Philip to have no part in this, and Ryubei attacked her as a terror dopant for it, and so she left him. And for some reason, she didn't take the kids. Considering how they turned out, not the best parenting move, Shroud. I kid, of course. I love this arc for the raw emotion the actors give to make the story pop up more. And so, episodes 45 and 46 is their final battle with Museum. Ryubei and Wakana are preparing for this event called the Gaia Impact, and they need Philip for it. This is also the episode where they finally take care of the Smilodon Dopant, their cat, and it's now a normal cat again. Good for Philip because Miku was actually his cat that he got when he was a kid. And speaking of which, of Philip, that he is the person we've been watching for the last 45 to 46 episodes is not the real Raito Sonozaki, because the real Philip died a long time ago, 12 years to be exact. The Sonozaki family went out on vacation to an excavation, and little Raito Sonozaki accidentally fell into a fountain and to his death. But instead of a child's corpse at the very bottom, Ryubei discovers the true Gaia memory that brought him back as a massive data. And if he completes the Gaia Impact, here's how it would even happen. Philip would end up being absorbed into Wakana as she acts as the base for the entire purification to the Earth. That'll alter everyone. Both Ryu and Shotaro are incapacitated. Ryu knocked out of commission from Terror Dopant's Terror Dragon, and Shotaro is too built up with fear from all the times he's just been near Ryubei, coming back to smack him in the face. And he is horrified of Ryubei, and it blinds him from retrieving Philip. And so, that night, the Sonozaki family actually have a family dinner, but only to see if Shroud and Sayako will beg Wakana to spare them from Museum's onslaught in the future. Favoritism! Yeah. Anywho, the next day, Shotaro comes to Philip's rescue right after Ryubei had already pushed him into the same fountain where he died. When Shotaro interrupts the Gaia Impact, he transforms, with the extreme memory right behind him to retrieve Philip's body. Axel's back in the game, and he ends the Terror Dragon, and W Extreme defeat and beat the Terror Dopant. Ryubei's beaten and blasted back to his mansion, which is on fire, and he goes inside. It's, I guess, at this point he knows he's beaten, but wow, is it kind of cathartic. Like, he starts off, well, for one, Wakana's fine, and you'll see why in a little bit. And then he starts, well, reminiscing about his family and starts ballroom dancing. All while everything's just about to burn and fall right on top of him. One line he even says is that he has no regrets about his life. Considering that he drove away his own wife for power and was psychologically abusive to his own children. Oh. Hey, nobody's perfect. Well, now Museum's out of the picture, and Foundation X is stepping up as the final antagonist of the show, as seen when Kazu enters the hall with Wakana's body in his arms. Episode 47, Philip makes a request to Shotaro to find Wakana, and they soon begin to do so, and they are confronted by Kazu, who is now the Utopia Dopant. Let's actually talk about the Utopia Dopant look for a second. I actually think I kind of like this suit because of how reverse it is. Like, look at the shoulders for a second. But not only that, the details and whatnot going on, like, it's one's own idea of perfect. And, it's not bad. It's a pretty good looking, well, for a final antagonist, pretty solid design. And so, Foundation X is taking Museum's plans to create another Gaia Impact, and to go along with the We're So Screwed, Philip says that they need to save their transformation because the next time they become W, he'll die. Back when the extreme memory recovered Philip's body, it didn't recover all of his body. And without the rest of his physical cells, yeah, he's going to disappear from this incomplete form that we see on screen right now. And Shotaro is not particularly happy about that and runs to Shroud for anything to help him, only to learn that Shroud was the client who hired Shokichi and Shotaro to rescue her son. Why? Well, Shokichi and Shroud were old friends, and so he was doing her a favor. So, new plan. Everyone charges into one of Foundation X's bases to retrieve Wakana, that they found out about earlier thanks to a hint Saiko gave them. They find Wakana and meet the Utopia Dopant again, and while Axel gets his shit wrecked as if he was fighting Magneto, Shotaro starts hesitating to transform, despite Ryu getting curved and the fact that their mission would be over right now if they did transform. But no, Shotaro does not want to lose Philip. I don't blame him for feeling like that, but on the other hand, your job literally would have been done in like 5 seconds, which is how long? Yeah, just your job would have been done in 5 seconds if you had transformed already, which, spoiler alert, that final fight against the Utopia Dopant is a matter of 5 seconds of an ass whooping. And like I said, I'm not even gonna joke about him not wanting to lose Philip because I get that, but unfortunately, Kazu isn't just gonna sit around until he comes to his senses, and instead attacks everyone who's close to Shotaro and Philip by taking their faces off. And their breaking point is met when he does it to Akiko. And now, for the final battle that I spoiled earlier. Now, that's not true. First, Kazu tries to finish off the guy at Impact, and the Taboo Dopant goes to save Wakana and stop him, but unfortunately, she dies. How is strange because he has her by the neck, and either that was enough, did he break her neck or something, snapped her neck or something? Anywho, Psycho, the Taboo Dopant, she dies. And now the real final battle starts. And it starts with Shotaro Hidari charging in solo to save Wakana and disrupt the Gaia impact, which causes the lab to blow up and shut down. And Phillips outside meets with him, and they tell Kazu to count up for his crimes. They don't even work up towards extreme. The memory just drops in, boom, extreme. And this final fight is glorious. Like, it's short, but W is just owning the Utopia Dopant, and they finally beat him. But before I say anything else, I should mention continuity between shows. Kazu's dead, so no more business with Gaia Memories. But with Foundation X, around that time, while they're still working, well, before they say, okay, now we're done with Gaia Memories, what is another thing that they were looking at for a power source? Core metals. And what show uses core metals? KamenRider O's. Just thought I'd mention that fact out there because good continuity. And so, it's time to depart. One thing I wanted to do while preparing for this final half of the review is that I wanted to get out a clip of the actual of Philip's death. But due to editing reasons and whatnot, I couldn't. The video kept frozen up on me. But when I watched it, it was sad. It was just so sad. It made me want to cry. It made my eyes water. Seeing Shotaro having to shut it off extreme. Oh my god, it looks so painful to do. Because Philip was going to just disintegrate. My god, it had me in my feelings, man. Like, Philip's departure was so powerful. Now what? Well, now what is that the next review I'll be doing this week will be the A to Z movie. And I bring that up because Philip leaves a present for Shotaro, and that's the Lost Driver, which he can use to defend Futo as Kamen Rider Joker. While I do want to talk about Kamen Rider Joker, I also want to talk about the Lost Driver itself as a driver. One, I find it rather interesting that they literally just call it the Lost Driver. And it's something that utilizes one memory and not two. So, interesting. And it makes sense with the style of the show. And I like it, and I would like one to be Joker. But yeah, Kamen Rider Joker suit. I do like it, but I only have one complaint, and it's that it's too dark. It's either, the suit itself is either too dark, or that purple is too light, because it's a bit of an offset with how dark that suit is. So could they make it, I don't know, less midnight black so that the purple could stand out more, or make the purple a bit more brighter to match up with the purple? Other than that, it's a pretty cool suit. Like, and since this is the Joker form, Shotaro just fights hand to hand. But he also gets just two finishers, a Rider Punch and a Rider Kick. So, nice. And now we move on to the last episode, and it's a mixed one. A year, I want to say, has passed, and Shoto's been doing fine on his own, still missing Philip. And Philip returns, and it's kind of strange how. From a logic standpoint, it's confusing how. Wakana has gone delusional in a hospital that Shotaro checks up on her in every now and then. And she still has her powers. And once she learned that Philip died, she does use her own body and powers essentially to perform her own Gaia impact to bring Philip back to life, and ergo sacrificing her life to bring him back. Why is that weird? Is because it takes Philip a year for his body to revitalize, yet this episode is saying that she did it recently. But so this episode, it's trying to tell me that she's been half crazed for almost a year. And when she did it, she was not crazy. And she learns that from Shroud, by the way. And then she dies. Inexplicably. How though? So yeah, Philip's back. And the show gets a happy ending? Question mark? Aside from the last episode, KamenRider W is an entertaining series. I'm a bit mixed about it with how I feel and what I think. How I feel is that this show is very good. I like how they make the characters out as real people and that everyone gets an arc and development. What I think is that after 11 years since this show's aired, it's became a bit overhyped. Not extremely overhyped, it's just considered overrated to me. But after watching this show for the second time, and even watching some filler episodes, I still side with the acclaim that this show is tight. And for a two-part style show, the feel of it is not aggravating because they are detectives and these are their clients. Most two-part style shows are pretty simple and direct. And with this show, it's not simple and direct. Matter of fact, why some two-parter shows like Forze and O's are so simple and direct is that there's no need to expand it into 2 episodes. With this show, however, what they try to do in like 2 episodes is what Law and Order does in 1 hour. And that is they try to solve their case and find their culprit and try to understand why they're doing this and bring them in because this is their jobs. And like what I said, compared to other shows that use two-part styles in the Heisei era, it's intentionally not simple, and all the characters are worth following. Whew. Now, before we wrap this show up, there are 2 more things to do. One is read the comments, and the other is the character analysis, which we might as well get to now, starting off with Shotaro. Shotaro is a very good leading character. That's not entirely true. Shotaro, he's a good character. I would say he's very good, but he does have his moments of naivety and stupidity. Specifically when he puts his trust in people when he shouldn't be. And this is one of the reasons why they called him half-boiled. But he is completely competent, and he does have a heart. So you can understand why for his actions, where he tries to reason with people. But you also got to understand, dude, you got a job to do, and these people made their decisions. You can try to talk to them to bring them in, but if that don't work, you got to do what you got to do. But actually no buts. That's just about him. He's that good side. He's that moral side of the pair. Speaking of which, let's talk about Philip. Philip is the more logical side, where he thinks this is the right thing to do, while Shotaro feels, and some cases or not, Philip is right and Shotaro was wrong. And personally, Philip as a character, cool dude. Like, the fact that he'll get distracted by something and it takes up so much of his interest that he will, I don't know, where I think. That one episode, that dancing arc episode, where he was all about wanting to see this dance move, that he does so much stuff just so he can see it. Starting off with locking 2 people in the Revolve Gari just until they work it out. Dude, bit crazy. But he means well. And think about the age difference between those two. Like, Philip is essentially a kid because even with real life, they're actors. There's a 7 or 10-year age gap between the two. And so Philip, he's more unintentionally reckless in some cases. But he's also half an amnesiac, so he gives reasons, but it's also his personality. He likes knowing stuff, and he's quite enthusiastic to what he gets into, and it becomes useful. So, Akiko, I think I hear a lot of complaints about Akiko and how she's a terrible person, but really, she's not that bad. Seriously, Akiko, she's loud, abusive, and crazy. But that's not her entire character. She also is considerate and an actual person. And I don't know what else to say about her. She's not terrible. And let me say this, let me honestly defend Akiko this one time. I'd rather take someone who's insane and memorable over someone who just plays the girl. Because I can name plenty of characters in Tokusatsu who just play the girl. Mana from Agito. Tsukiyomi from Zi-O. Yes, unfortunately. And Kiyomi from Wizard. They're not like, it's pretty hard to try to remember them, especially one of them from like 2 years ago, who half of their point was just be the girl until she became a KamenRider in the last fucking episode. Where Akiko, however, is memorable throughout the entire show's run, even afterwards. So maybe she is crazy and whatnot, but she does show that she means well. Speaking of which, since we brought up Akiko, let's bring up our secondary writer, Ryu. That was a segue, because one of the movies that I'm going to review is one where they're married. Anywho, Ryu, my favorite character. The dude, his character development to me is amazingly awesome. He started off as a man bitter by what was taken away from him, and he comes out the other end being the better person, being the bigger and better person. As opposed to resenting Shroud, he chose to forgive her because he knows that she didn't intentionally get her family killed, Like, it wasn't her fault, it was Isaka's fault. And his profession as a police officer really helps him with that because he is a damn good cop. He does, and he's had his moments where he did the unnecessary or was a little too hard. But everything around him and everyone, they made him a better person. And personally, I don't mind him and Akiko being a couple because hell, she was one of the influences. Last but not least, let's talk about the Sonozaki family. As villains, I'd say they're about average. Like, if I was doing a tier maker of these villains right now, or of Kamen Rider villains, these people would be in B tier because, I don't know, they're not entirely blank slates from my mind. Although Isaka to me was the most memorable because of his connection to Ryu. But everyone else, they were just dicks. And it's honestly not so strange saying that right now in 2020 because think about all the stuff that's going on. The fact that the Earth chosen family would be a family of jackasses and assholes, it would kind of make sense for this year, but probably not for 2010, I believe. But yeah. Alright, so last but not least, let's read. I've uploaded a thing on Tokusatsu Nerds, which is a Facebook group. Basically, we're reading other people's comments on the show. And particularly what I wrote was, because this is the first time I left a comment as well, thoughts on Kamen Rider W. Mine, it's good, it's appreciative, but a bit overhyped. And so, Dylan Casano says, as much as I like the relationships between the characters, the last 3 episodes really soured the series for me. Huh. I can understand why. Well, I say the last 3 episodes, I'd say the last episode, not that it was bad, just because that logic standpoint of, yeah. And so, Fideris Ahmad says, overhyped at your circles, perhaps. Ha! Smartass. Joshua Boston, still haven't gotten past episode 1. It's pretty simple, and alright. Oh crap, but this is someone I've commented on before. I wonder if I can find their comment again. Evan Grainer, I dropped the series halfway through. I am indifferent on the protagonist, and the Sonozaki was super boring for me. I'll attempt again sometime. I can understand why. Like I said, the villains aren't the best, but they also aren't the worst. And yeah, pretty much. Oh, here, and I found the rest of this guy's comments. This is where we actually go back and forth for a minute, but I'm just going to read what he says. Honestly, I thought they were boring. Nazca was the only one that was interested in, and they were one of the main reasons I dropped W. I'll get back to it once I finish some other writer series. Still from Evan Grainer, talking about the Sonozaki family. But yeah, that has been the show. Still a good show. Check it out. It's not bad. In my personal opinion, I do like this show, but I think it's about around average, in my opinion. And with that said, finally gotten done with the show, which taken me going into the 3rd week of W month to do. Sorry about that. But next week, which is today, it's the week of the 14th. Next video that will be out this week will be the A to Z review. So stay tuned for that. And thank you guys for watching. Please do not forget to like, subscribe, share this video, and tell your friends about KamenRider Blackman. And I'll see you guys next time. Peace. Damn it, I didn't press. All right, now peace. I forgot to press stop recording.